Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to another Battle of the Network Shows bonus episode. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick. Hello, everyone.
And we're back in the BOTNS vaults here.
Yes, we are.
Our second TV Guide game based on a poll that we did on our Facebook.
Yes, one poll with two winners. How can that be, you say? Well, there was a dead heat.
Yeah.
And we've decided to give the people what they want and present both TV Guide games.
Yeah. And we've already presented the 1977 one. Mm-hmm. So you can go back and listen to that if you haven't heard it.
So today we're going to take a look at 1982, a very good year in many respects, and we're looking at Saturday, September 11th, 1982. And this is actually the fall preview issue.
Ooh.
So you know this is a big week in television, but this particular Saturday night, Mike, has, I'd say, a pretty reliant on specialty programming.
Okay.
You know, specials, but it's got a mix of things. So now the way we do this is I'm going to read to Mike what was on the major networks that night, and Mike is going to write down what he would watch from those selections, and I'm going to try to anticipate what he would watch.
Yeah. And what are we doing? 7 to 11 or 8 to 11?
It doesn't look like there's really network programming. We'll do 8 to 11.
Okay.
And I'm going to determine, this is actually a Los Angeles Metro edition we've extracted from the vaults here. There's no like sporting events or anything, I don't think, so the lineup is actually the same as it would be in the East Coast. Just putting that in there. We love our West Coast time zone friends as well. Okay, so I am trying to acclimate myself with the different networks out here. I'm going to include Channel 5. So we're going to have ABC, CBS, and NBC, but I'm also going to throw in Channel 5, which was KTLA, which is, I think, like a big superstation out there. Okay, so we'll have CBS, NBC, KTLA, Channel 5, and ABC. All right, so starting at 8 o'clock, all right, on Channel 2. Now, Channel 2 was CBS, okay, and I point that out because it's Walt Disney. Now, remember, this is that weird time in the 80s where Disney was not on NBC, but was on CBS for a couple of years. And tonight, and it was an hour time slot, so tonight it's Gus, a 1976 comedy about a mule that lends its high-kicking talents to a winless football team. First of 2 parts. So it's weird. So they're splitting it up, which is kind of annoying, huh?
I have to wait a whole week to find out if Gus kicked the field goal.
Exactly.
Who are the humans in that one?
Edward Asner, Don Knott, Gary Grimes, Tim Conway, Liberty Williams, and Dick Van Patten.
Wow.
How about it, huh?
Yeah.
NBC, Channel 4 in Los Angeles. Different Strokes. A famous Russian choreographer, Roger C. Carmel, encourages Arnold to take up ballet, but Willis, Todd Bridges, thinks it will ruin his brother's reputation. Arnold, Gary Coleman. Miss Rakova, Lillian Chauvin. A repeat, so NBC hasn't kicked off premiere week yet either. It's interesting. You'd think the fall preview would be the debut week, but not the case here on Saturday. Probably next week.
Probably Monday.
Yeah. Or next Saturday would be the debut of like their Saturday night shows, I think.
And the TV Guide starts on Saturday, right?
Yes. Now, Channel 5, we've got a special. Peter Allen and the Rockettes. Peter Allen joins the high-kicking Rockettes on the Radio City Music Hall stage for a concert of his own compositions. Music, Don't Wish Too Hard, Fly Away, One Step Over the Borderline, You and Me, Paris at 21, Hitting the Heart, Everything Old is New Again, Don't Cry Out Loud, and I Go to Rio, of course. The display ad says, an explosive hour, one of the world's premier artists in a dynamic musical extravaganza, including hit songs Borderline, Bicoastal, and Fly Away. Peter Allen and the Rockettes at Radio City Music Hall tonight, 8 p.m., Channel 5. Ooh, wow. Okay, that leaves ABC, and we've got T.J. Hooker. Hooker, William Shatner, tries to persuade a frightened woman to testify against a psychotic murderer, Romano Adrian Zmed. Also starring, this is interesting, Allison is Lisa Hartman, Danny, Jonathan Banks. Boy, the guy was on everything back then, wasn't he? Cal,
I bet he's a
Michael
psycho.
O'Hare. Yeah, and Stoner, Robert Hogan. Interesting. Okay, so we had Different Strokes at 8 o'clock. So next it's time to go at 8:30 to NBC. And we've got the Texaco Star Theater, which gets a display ad and a close-up. So the display ad said, Texaco Star Theater returns to TV. 17 stars celebrate America's greatest musicals. 23 show-stopping songs in a 90-minute TV special. And in the close-up, it says, an all-star ensemble performs some of Broadway's greatest showstoppers in a tune-filled salute to the American musical theater. And between the numbers, Steve Allen, Charles Nelson Riley and Zsa Zsa Gabor exchange some lighthearted banter and their reminiscences of the Great White Way. Some of the highlights include some of the performers Bernadette Peters, Carol Burnett, Pam Dauber, and John Schneider do an Oklahoma medley. Bewitched from Pal Joey is performed by Loretta Swit. How about this? I'm an Ordinary Man and I've Grown Accustomed to Her Face from My Fair Lady by Robert Guillaume. And Jillian does several songs. Placido Domingo, Donald O'Connor, selections from Annie and a chorus line by touring company cast members. Debbie Allen with a Dreamgirls medley. Ethel Merman with Before the Parade Passes By.
Wow.
I'll Build a Stairway to Paradise from George White's Scandals of 1922 by Ken Berry. And a Broadway hits medley by Sammy Davis Jr. and Carol Burnett, who are pictured here in the a little inset photo in the close-up. Wow. Texaco Star Theater, and that's 90 minutes. That takes us to 9 o'clock, and on CBS we've got Chomps from 1979, a whimsical comedy about a bionic canine created by a young computer whiz, Wesley Ure, to ward off burglars. Also starring Valerie Bertinelli, Conrad Bain, Chuck McCann, Red Buttons, Larry Bishop, Hermione Baddeley, and Jim Backus. Yeah, theatrical movie. Channel 5, after the Peter Allen special, has Entertainment This Week. Scheduled Ricardo Montalban, Susan Sullivan, Louis Jordan, Susan Lucci, and Glenn Campbell. On ABC, we've got Love Boat. A careerist, Ava Gabor, wants to get reacquainted with her estranged 12-year-old, Brad Savage. Gopher and Isaac bird dog a newlywed, Karen Kay, they suspect of trying to bump off her rich hubby, Artie Johnson. A starry-eyed romantic, Audrey Landers, is deceived by a love-struck imposter, Eddie Mecca, and a repeat of The Love Boat. Well, I think that takes us right to 10 o'clock, and... Now, this is a little confusing here. It's a 2-hour special, which is unusual on Saturday on NBC. It's the Miss America pageant. And it says in this big display ad that it's a live 2-hour special. However, in the listing, it says it's taped from an earlier live telecast. So maybe it's presented plausibly live.
Because of the West Coast thing, maybe?
There you go.
And, they're not going to pay for 2 ads.
You're exactly right there, I think. Host Gary Collins, co-hosted by the 1981 Miss America Susan Powell. Special guest star Marilyn McCoo.
Oh.
And in the close-up, it talks about, I won't read the whole thing, but it talks about how Burt Parks had recently been yanked off the runway as the MC, and now the song There She Is has been dropped. And it says, pageant's executive director, Albert Marks Jr., says, nothing goes on forever. And as far as hosts are concerned, he continues, there'll be no more 25-year jobs. Parks' successor, Ron Ely, host of Face the Music, can confirm that after 2 years, he's been replaced by talk show host Gary Collins. Ooh. Wow, a year of changes here.
Scintillating close-up.
Yes, man. So, yeah, Miss America and ABC, I'm sorry, Channel 5 has news. Then we've got ABC has Fantasy Island. A bounty hunter, Bo Hopkins, wants to capture an elusive bank robber, Robert Fuller. An amateur occultist, Tanya Roberts, encounters a frightened ghost, Dak Rambo. Rourke, Ricardo Montalban. Tattoo, Hervé Villachez. And we've still got Chomps on CBS. So I think that will take us up to 11 o'clock.
Oh, boy.
And some tough choices as always. I'm going to go ahead and write down mine. And there's some variables here that maybe influence things a bit. That's always the way it is in the TV Guide game, though.
This one is a tough one. That seems weird because it's such an odd mix of programming. But
yes.
All right. I think I've made my selections.
I've gone a certain direction with mine. If you're locked in, I've made my choices. I'm going to say at 8 o'clock, I'm going to go with Gus.
Yes.
I worried about splitting it up, that might dissuade you.
Well, that's the one thing working again. I think if a sitcom had followed different strokes, I might have changed it. And as much as I've enjoyed when you shared with me and other people Peter Allen's performance of going to Rio from YouTube,
yes,
I don't know if I could take an hour.
Fair enough. Okay. Is it accurate to say that at the time, like if you were watching this back in 1982, you very likely would have watched Gus and just been like irritated at 9 o'clock and just, you wouldn't have known that it was part one. You would just been like, oh man, now I got to wait for another week.
Probably.
Like it would have caught you off guard probably.
Or maybe you'd be used to the rhythms of Disney and know that.
True. I wonder if CBS did this more on the regular more often than like NBC, because on a Sunday night show you could do it at 7. I guess they still would have an hour slot, but occasionally you could go 7 to 9 probably. But on Saturdays maybe it was harder to do that. Still kind of a bummer. All right, so you're watching Gus now. That takes us to 9 o'clock since, as I said, it's only half the movie. So
this is where it got difficult.
At 9 o'clock, oh boy, for me this would have been difficult. And throw in Entertainment This Week there, man. I mean, to catch up on all the celebrity news.
Wasn't Ricardo Ricardo Montalban on that?
Yes, he was. It was quite a night, Saturday night. I went with Chomps.
I was leaning Chomps, especially it was recently featured in a DVD sale, and I considered getting it. I think I told you if it had been a TV movie, and I would have gotten it, so we could talk about it on the podcast.
Yes.
But certainly a TV cast, and made by Hanna-Barbera, one of their few live action. But I ended up going with Love Boat and Fantasy Island.
Ah, okay.
I think the Fantasy Island in particular, the second story in that intrigued me. The ghost.
Yes, Tanya Roberts and
Dak.
A ghost,
Dak
Rambo. Now that's interesting because my inclination would be, and I think I've seen this episode, but my assumption would be, hearing that, you would think that the guy would be the occultist, and that the woman would be the ghost, like Tanya Roberts would be the ghost. So it's kind of an interesting switch to have her be the paranormal investigator and have the guy be the frightened ghost.
I assume the reverse, but maybe the description.
An amateur occultist, Tanya Roberts, encounters a frightened ghost, Dak Rambo. So yeah, I would assume the other way around.
Right.
Like, that they would have typically like the Tanya Roberts be the ghost. Not necessarily the frightened part, although it does seem like a little weird Dak Rambo being the frightened ghost, but yeah. I'm sure he pulled it off.
Oh, he's Dak Rambo.
Okay, so in Love Boat,
you know,
interested by the...
I think it was, I didn't want to, only watch part of Chomps.
Yeah.
It's either all or nothing with Chomps.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
And for the folks out there who maybe don't know, it's C period H period O, etc. Yes. Chomps spelled with periods, and it's an acronym for something.
It is, yeah. And canine or cyborg.
Right.
I don't know what it is, so we'll have to look that up. But well, that's interesting. I didn't show you the display ads, which maybe if I had shown you this full page display ad for the Texaco Star Theater.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have influenced you.
Yeah, I mean, that's impressive.
It almost looks like Night of 100 Stars. Because
is Charles Grodin there?
There's Charles Nelson Riley.
Look like someone on the bottom row.
There's Joe Namath. I'm not sure.
Okay.
We'll reproduce that.
Just show it up. Hold it up again.
Yeah. They're very small headshots.
Yeah.
So
the guy third, right above the 4.
Right above the 4 for NBC. Charles Nelson Riley?
That's Charles. Okay.
Actually, now that that doesn't really look like Charles Nelson Riley as I know him in that headshot, and it is a very small headshot. So that's not the first time those two have been confused.
All right,
I'm sure. That's very Broadway centric. Texaco Star Theater, and it's 1982 NBC. Milton Berle was probably available, and they didn't bring him on. I'm surprised at that on a Texaco Star Theater.
Yeah.
Maybe he did like a surprise cameo.
You think there were Bob Hope commercials?
Maybe there were. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. They did this big special without Bob Hope and Milton Berle on NBC in 1982. That's kind of a surprise. Neither one of them were on the Love Boat nor Fantasy Island either. So, man, what were they doing on this Saturday night?
Or entertainment this week.
Yeah. The Miss America pageant, I'm not sure who wound up winning that, but
yeah.
Although, wait a minute.
82?
So in the close-up here, they have a picture of Elizabeth Ward, Miss America 1982. Isn't that what we're watching?
Maybe it's like Cars. You selected the year.
Yeah, but it also says reigning Queen Elizabeth Ward. Okay, wait a minute. Miss America 1981 was Susan Powell.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're right. So they're picking the 1983 Miss America.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're choosing for the next year.
I assumed that the 1981 Susan Powell was last year's one. They just have a picture, and she doesn't look all that dissimilar from Elizabeth. Okay. Anyways, so Miss America, it's funny too because Miss America was an annual tradition on NBC for many years.
Yeah.
And 1982, after decades of it looks like there was a little bit of a transition. And I'm not sure offhand how long Gary Collins hosted it, but I do remember it being, not at the time, but I remember later it being a big deal, like Burt Parks. They got rid of Burt Parks unceremoniously and everything after he did it for 25 years.
Yeah, for some reason I thought that happened later.
Yeah, I would have guessed too. And this place is about 1980, so that's interesting. Maybe he came back and maybe they did it to him again.
Maybe they would bring him back just to sing the song.
Yeah, that could be. Well, it wasn't what you selected though.
No. I guess, in a way, since it was going after everything else, you could just catch the end because it was going to midnight, right?
Yeah, maybe you get like the talent competition or something like that. And
yeah.
So they didn't do the song. I wonder, hopefully.
Maybe they did a different song.
Yeah, I guess Marilyn McCoo sang something, I guess. Gary Collins did not sing anything, maybe.
He sang Age of Aquarius.
Or maybe she sang the theme song to Solid Gold.
Yeah.
Why not?
That would be good. Miss America with Gary Collins, Marilyn McCoo, and the Solid Gold Dancers.
Yeah, the crossover you never knew you wanted.
Yeah.
And they could have Waylon Flowers and Madam on there, too.
I bet they were on a Miss America.
They had to have been. Right.
Unless I was like stepping on some contestants.
Maybe Willie Tyler and Lester. Oh, yeah. He's like some contestant's talent.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Well, we had to bump that.
Yeah.
Want to upstage our talent.
I would have liked to have seen that. You know, I never have seen the movie Chomps. I sort of remember like seeing advertising for that, but maybe I'll check that out.
I don't know why I'm fascinated.
Yeah. Well, I know why you're fascinated by it, because it has Conrad Bain.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Jim Backus.
Yes, and a robot dog.
Yeah, and you know, Chuck McCann's character is named Brooks.
Oh.
No relation that I'm aware of, but maybe I do need to check this out.
And you can't go wrong with Chuck McCann.
No, you certainly can't.
You know, nothing wrong with Valerie Bernelli, the kid from Land of the Lost.
Yes, and Red Buttons, you know.
The robot dog got a dinner, but...
Well played again, Mike, and thanks to everyone for making us do extra work.
Yeah.
Doing another bonus episode, but we enjoyed it. So 1982, what a night. Saturday, September 11th, 1982, and I think you booked yourself a fine night of television, Mike.
Hopefully we'll be talking about this more on the Facebook group, which of course you can join.
Yes, let us know. You know what? I guarantee you that several people in our Facebook group have seen the movie Chomps and will have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
And I want to hear it. And I also want to hear what you folks would pick to watch, given the same choices. So we'll provide the information for you, and then we can discuss it there. And if you're not a member of our Facebook group, we'd love to have you. Just go Facebook, search Battle of the Network Shows. Very easy to get in there, and you can join us to talk about television and our podcast all the time. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network Shows.